home the point.
And Ryan, I got to tell you something. I want to make some sense of this for my viewing audience a little bit. Unfortunately, I can't quite reach the jury. But there's aspects of this that's so troubling. First of all, Dr. Metzger giving Michael Jackson benzodiazepines. Bad time. I mean, that to me is, again, like, you got to be kidding. This guy's struggling with a serious history of addiction. He's clearly in drug withdrawal now that everyone's calling insomnia. It's drug withdrawal. That's what that is. He goes into withdrawal every evening. And then in this piece of paper, in his interview, Dr. Murray with the police says, well, I knew Dr. Klein and Dr. Metzger were prescribing drugs, but Michael wanted to keep that quiet or keep that to himself. Why didn't he call the other doctors? It's all he had to do. And if I were Dr. Metzger, I'd be beside myself angry that all that stuff was going on in a patient that I was prescribing to without my knowledge. Did any of that kind of stuff, that kind of frustration come out from Dr. Metzger today?
No, and Dr. Metzger remained very calm because what you said really means a lot for him. Because think about it, he's on that stand, right? And he could very well be one of these doctors that the defense keeps talking about that just kind of enabled Michael Jackson. So he got on the stand and Drew, at one point he says, I treated Michael since the 90s, but then he said my treatment stopped after a while. Then Michael Jackson calls him in 2009, kind of brings him back, but he makes it seem as if he's not so involved with Michael's treatment. So it's almost as if you could say, I mean, one thing that stuck out to me is Michael says he's having trouble sleeping and you give him Klonopin and you say, in his testimony, he said, I figured he would then come back and check in with me if he was having a problem. And I couldn't remember the last time I had a doctor prescribe something to me and simply say, hey, call me if you have an issue, especially with a drug like that. But he very much played it as if he was kind of hands off. That he saw Michael, that Michael told him some things, and after that he kind of stepped away. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but you have Dr. Metzger in that courtroom, and I got the sense that he was trying to avoid being tied into this in any way.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I'm sure that's what was going on there. It's difficult. I don't know. They're trying to prove negligence, but they're doing very little conversation about quality of medical care. That, to me, is astonishing about this case. But anyway, the defense began their case today with a surveillance video and a series of law enforcement witnesses. Why do they go there?
Well, they tried to set the foundation for what they're going to try to argue about the investigation, the 911 call. And in order to talk about, so for example, they had a witness talk about the timing of the 911 call. And in order to talk about that in the way they want it to happen, they have to set the foundation for when it occurred. So they said the 911 call, for example, happened just a couple minutes earlier. And what that does is it shortens the window between when Dr. Murray saw Michael Jackson not breathing and he called 911. So those were little tiny things they did in the beginning.
Well, Ryan, thank you for that update. I get so frustrated with this case. I got to tell you, I have a thing I keep on hand here to remind me how outrageous this whole thing is. This man, Michael Jackson, went to bed every night with this because he was so sedated that he couldn't function. He couldn't get up to go to the bathroom, guys. That's why he had to be hooked up to this. So I just keep this here to remind myself just how outrageous this situation is. And as an addictionologist, all the multiple prescribing doctors not communicating with each other, bad times, and poor Michael Jackson got the worst of what my profession has to offer.